Moving right along through this month.
Yeah,
A year.
not hard for Christmas, but I don't care. I'm not doing Christmas this year because I'm doing my knee replacement
Oh,
instead.
are you? When is that?
The 13th of December.
Okay.
So that puts me out of commission for Christmas.
You don't have to be handing out making any gift bags out here.
Oh, I can do gift bags.
Seafoam and
I can do
peanuts.
gift bags.
Is that a thing?
Oh yeah, because when Santa comes into town, he hands out like a bag of seafoam and peanuts, and then like the little soft chew like peppermint things. And
I
so
hope there's a pencil in there too.
yeah, usually I mean the last couple of years we just kind of set up grab a bag, do a few of these, few
I
of
can
these
do that.
kisses, just walk around the room a bunch of times, fill them all up. I don't know how many bags we made last year, 60 or 70. I'm sure they all did yours.
At least it won't be as cold as the Halloween.
Yeah, right, no kidding. Okay, it's 10:30, so we'll call the November Parks and Trails Committee meeting to order. First public comment, if anyone would like to. And hearing no takers, we'll move on to our first agenda item. So this is playground equipment. This is something that this committee has been working on for maybe over a year with Game Time, or Sinclair Recreation is the company out of Holland. We have received to date just under $50,000 in grant funding. We have $40,000 from the Township Community Foundation. Then we received, I think it was like $9,300 or $9,400 from the Grand Traverse Band from their 2% grants. And one thing we had discussed early on in getting the playground equipment together and sort of moving forward with this plan is that if necessary, we could always reduce the pieces to replace the essential items, which are the wooden structure down there, and then the swing sets. I did talk last week. I stopped down here, and Chris Holden was here, and some of the DPW guys, and they were talking with Joni about the equipment down there. And Chris says that that frame is still solid, that it's not in jeopardy of coming out of the ground or anything like that. So a way to save money would be to just purchase the seats versus the entire frame structure. We do have.
You're talking about the swing set thing.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, that was certainly my conclusion as well.
Yeah, and because there was a few years ago, some people were concerned about it, stability, and they've multiple times let us know that it's not in danger of going anywhere. So I did include in the email an updated cost estimate, and so you see that the structure is the bulk of that. They don't give us a breakdown of the 4 base swing set. The frame is not itemized, so I don't know exactly what that cost savings would be.
And you think they would be able to work with the structure we have and just add the seats?
I think they would be less inclined to sell us the entire thing, but I think if we're only willing to buy the seats, then I'm hoping they would sell them to us so that we could have them installed. I think one of the things that's different from the quote on the other packet that came out, where the total was 105, is I did talk to Chris about removal of existing equipment. They had budgeted for $8,500, and whether or not that's something that our DPW could do. You had Susan talk to Bay Area Recycling about potential reuse of the thing. What Chris mentioned was maybe we take it down and then they haul it away, so we're not paying them to deconstruct it. That would certainly, as we're getting into our budget for the next coming year, deciding what type of funds would be needed, and maybe, I don't know if this would be Parks and Trails money, or, some capital would go into helping replace this, because that playground equipment has certainly moved up the capital
Yeah.
improvements list.
So Chris, help me understand this.
Sure.
This was a previous, no, wait a minute. The one that totals 105 versus the one that totals 68?
Mm-hmm.
Why do we have both of these? What is the?
This was the original packet that had all the pieces of equipment.
Right.
So what I did is, to maybe fit our budget better, I had them reduce some of the equipment. So I
Okay,
took off the saucer swing and the little spring rider.
Oh, yeah, I
And
don't
that-
think we need that.
Yeah, I mean,
They've got a whole nother structure there, so.
they do, exactly. And then when we went for this original plan, we were
I got
thinking
it.
sort of grander scheme,
Right,
and like I
right.
said, scaling back.
right.
But you'd still have this, which is more for the little kids, right?
Yeah, and that was the input we got from the few community members who did, is that they would have liked to have seen a structure down there that was more geared towards younger preschool age
I think
kids,
it's
so
a
that
good idea.
so that they have their own thing. Like, if you look at the school, they have the big play structure, anyone can do that. But to the north of the playground, they have that small sort of train-looking structure that is basically designed for young kids.
But so now we're saying that what we're gonna do is, really, this would be the only new piece, and the seats on the swing set,
If we can.
if we can't get 68.
Yeah.
If we can.
We know we've got 50, so
We've
can we
got
find
50.
another 18 in our upcoming budget?
Or can we ask for donations, or,
We have talked about that a few times, about
would
a
it be able?
capital campaign, if people be willing to donate for a name on a plaque to help
Yeah,
fund.
even
the-
$100, we need 180 people, $100? Is that right? Is that
Yeah,
math right?
yeah.
So, ADA compliant?
The structure is ADA compliant,
Mhm.
and some of the swings that are in the,
Hard to see there.
yeah, they are, but one of them is a zero gravity swing for people that have mobility issues, so it harnesses in over the front of them so that they can go back and forth.
Mhm.
A couple of the other swings have the ability to have a child and then an adult on the other side, so they can swing face to face.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like the idea of starting new, starting new with the swing set, having the whole thing new. Rather than, and then a 5 years from now, we gotta take the thing down and put I don't know.
Except that you do have the waste of something that doesn't need to be wasted, right? The structure, and that you have to find somebody who will deal with that. Bay Area Recycling might be able to deal with that. I don't know. You said they were talked to, but we don't know
I
the
don't remember
result.
what they said.
Yeah.
I don't remember if I ever talked, I know I called them, I don't remember if they ever called back, but I can check with them again. But you're right, you're right. I think we could certainly raise $18,000 really easily. Yeah, it's a new playground, equipment. We need 180 people households donate $100, and some would donate more, and I think it would be an easy thing.
Any input, discussion, suggestions?
Well, I tend to agree that, first of all, we don't even know whether the material that the seats and the swing units that they're proposing will even work with the existing structure. We have to find that out first. I would tend to agree with Barb that if you can use it, reuse it, and it's not a problem. I'm not sure if the arc structure is something that's required for this particular. Probably wouldn't be, and I'm not sure why they do that rather than just triangular structure that's there now. But as far as you're certainly a whole lot better versed on whether that fundraising effort would work than I would be, but I would tend to agree that's the kind of thing that you get a lot of local support for. There might even be additional funding somewhere that we're not aware of.
Just like the company
This
knows?
is potentially the kind of thing where you could purchase the material, you can purchase everything, store it, and then when you do the fundraising and additional funding for the installation, and the main thing you're going to want is that $14,000 for the engineered wood fiber protective surface. That's really essential.
Yeah,
You're talking about 28, even if on this basis, you're talking about $28,000 of that, or almost $29,000 of that price is that component that you may not need to spend that right now. They may be willing to split that up, ship the stuff to us, we can store it until we're ready to install it, and then fundraise for the additional $28,000 to $18,000 that we would need.
and that wood chip total might come down because that was for the whole
Yeah.
whole area. So if we just reduce it to
Yeah,
the
Right.
two this,
Yeah, but one of the things I think you really want is for that whole area to have that safety component, and it'll also tie them in together. So one of the comments that at the infrastructure committee, and I'm not sure if I'm following this correctly, but to get those two components together, so a parent will be able to see kids on the swings as well as on the preschool climbing structure, and be close enough to them that their attention would be diverted. So,
yeah, I think they are.
and in that design, they clearly are,
Yeah, they're tucked right next to each other there.
and they're even tied together through the
Wood chipped area.
the wood chip surface, which is kind of nice. So,
well, I think we need to talk to them about whether they think this idea would work of just buying the seats and not buying the structure.
Oh, the frame.
The
Yeah.
frame,
Uh-huh.
the frame,
Would they work with our current frame?
yeah.
If they don't, then we'll need to see how we can recycle it.
Yeah, well, let me talk to Bark again, or once or again, I don't know. I talked to them, it was so long ago, I don't remember, but I'll call Bark if that's okay.
Okay.
it's described in the quote as, I don't know, ADA is intended to be, Americans with Disabilities Act, but it is a affordably accessible structure. And I'm not sure if the structure that we currently have would be characterized as non-ADA. I'm not sure about those.
But maybe 88 has some grant money, do they do grants?
The game time, I called them, they do have some in-house grants or just discounts for ADA stuff. He said that we would qualify, but not with our current design. Yeah, he said it's because our structure, it was something with it had to, it was something to do with, it was only for pieces of equipment up to a certain value or over a certain value, and our piece of equipment wasn't included in that. So maybe it has to be like a $30,000 piece of equipment that they'll give the minimum discount for. I can, Jim, I can forward you the communications I've had with these folks if you want to add more to your plate, or I can, just keep on with Thomas about where we're at with the project and ask about the purchasing the equipment and storing it versus paying for it all at once.
Where's okay, the installation is the 14,000.
This
And they-
one doesn't
and they
have removing it by them.
Correct.
It's removing it by us.
Right.
So
Well, I
sure,
think-
they could go up.
Geez, I think if we tell people we got this equipment, we're just missing the money to install it, can you donate, you know?
Yeah, one avenue would be to do a community build. This is what they did out at the lighthouse for their structure there, is that they brought people in who helped put it together. So then, I think there's still a little bit of an expense because Game Time or the recreation company sends somebody to supervise you while you do it.
You're not gonna save any money doing that.
Okay.
Relatively certain of that. You know, the structures that I've seen that you can do the community structure or community build on are generally larger and they're less the swing set climbing structures. They're more of the ones I've seen are like pirate ship things
Mm-hmm.
you know, larger structures that have, they're more like, I don't want to say a cabin, but can't really think of a word to describe them, but they're more occupancy structures.
Hmm.
Things that you walk through
Got it.
rather than things you climb on.
Okay.
If it's constructed inappropriately, these guys get sued as well.
Right.
And they don't want that. That's why they want a certified installer on site.
So you're gonna talk to them about a few options,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm gonna talk to Bark and affirm that they would take the
Structure.
structures if we end up,
Disassembling them.
yeah,
Okay.
and then we're gonna come back and talk about this again.
Okay.
But I think we absolutely should do something soon.
And a lot of times I've convinced vendors like this to, the way we split it is, you know, we can pay for the equipment in this budget here, but we can do the install in the following budget.
Mm.
And that's sometimes, you know, a split that they understand. Oh, that makes sense to us. You know, you're agreeing to pay, you're contracting for the full amount now,
Mm-hmm.
but we're just going to split that payment over 2 budget years. And
We got
a convenient way
lots
to
of,
do it would be equipment versus installation,
yeah,
Yeah.
if they'll go for that.
It might work very well this year since it's a short budget year. And,
Exactly.
yes,
Exactly.
Now, they do put in bold increased font that 2.5% charge if you use a credit card, so we don't have to use a
I
credit
don't know
card.
that- I don't know that we have a credit card.
Yeah.
with-
What's
with-
the max
with
limit?
That kind of credit limit.
Okay, and then I'll talk to them and see what they're, because I wonder if we bought it, they shipped it to us, we would have to have a location to store it, so we, you know, either the DPW building
Right.
or
yeah, it's not that big.
where else. Okay. All right, so we got a couple options here. Okay. All right, the next item is the trail routing and agreements. Came up a couple of months ago when Chet was serving as interim manager that some of the trail agreements are changing because property that's in the township just west of Gene Putnam's old house, and then some property that's a little bit north of that over there by the golf course has also changed hands. And so those trail agreements need to be renewed. And in fact, some of them were never signed prior to. And
So they need an easement for us to do the trail through there.
yeah. Fred Budd has a piece of property there. That's not a big deal. The property just to the north of his is the one that recently changed hands. Christine Stenbig, that's her maiden name, grew up just south of Northport, about a mile. Arnie's her brother. They're the ones who purchased the property. And so I did run into them the other day walking our dogs in town and did briefly mention it to them. So they said that was something they would be willing to look at.
Okay.
We don't have the map on, we should have brought that, but it goes through kind of cuts across their property at an angle. And if necessary, we could move it around the border of their property if they didn't want people kind of walking through the area, but it's pretty wild at this point. There's a wild apple tree and some wild blackberries there. And then to the south of where the 8th green is at the golf course, and the road that goes along the soccer field entrance there by the Putnam's house, old house, that's actually part of the golf course property. So the village owns that. So if we have issues with the trail going up and over the hill and getting the agreements from those folks, we could always just get people down to 3rd Street and then up the Brandon Hill there to reconnect the trail. They'd have to walk on the road slightly, but it would, you know.
So are you saying that we have 2 property owners we need agreements from?
Actually, multiple. It would be now to keep the trail as is. There was some thinking that one of the pieces of property has a small sliver split that the trail could go up and around, but I don't think there's any guarantees of that. No.
There is currently a course for the trail that runs through, or did run through that property, but now that it's being split, that's the problem. Right?
Yeah. And so the DPW have put a sign up that says, trail closed on this portion. I don't know if people are still walking on it, but I guess I'm just bringing Barb and Jim up to speed on things that have been going on. I don't know if Chuck filled you in on any of that.
I did. I mean, the first couple of days we were here, we walked that trail and saw the sign that you're talking about, and was kind of confused how we would get back to Raven Hill area. But we ended up doing exactly what you described, walking down 3rd Street to that portion of the park.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that problematic.
So are these agreements something Jim can do?
Just call up the people and ask them if they're willing and then drop an agreement.
Pretty much. I think there were previous agreements that were already signed. Some of, like I said, some were not, but there is a trail agreement that's already been drafted, so I'm sure.
And I've seen it. The problem with it is it grants a license, which is different than easement. Easement is something that run with the land and would be applicable for a change of ownership. A license, however, is unique to the person who grants it.
Yeah.
And you're in a situation where you might get everybody to agree to a license, but then the owner says, not my property, and you're stuck back to square one. So,
You have to move the trail.
or not be able to have it at all because the person the property owner that's adverse is right in the middle, and there's no way to continue the trail if they're permitting it. So
Well, that's not.
I'm not saying that's completely should be completely discounted as a possibility, but that is the limitation of the agreement as that presently exists.
Can we get everybody to agree to an easement? That'd be the best
Potentially.
thing, right?
I mean, potentially, but again, if they do that, there's a more significant cost associated with the easement because you have to do a survey and there's deeds that need to be prepared, that kind of thing. I've certainly done that in the past. I'm not sure that it would be a good idea for me to do that, but
Okay.
That's definitely
So-
practicing law,
Easements are more expensive.
generally speaking.
And you said we currently have the agreements grant a license,
Mhm.
not an
The
easement.
ones the agreements that were in place as I reviewed them were licenses, not easements.
Okay.
But we could renew those licenses with new owners.
Good, yeah.
And, I mean, it wouldn't, we'd have to do it occasionally, but,
Potentially. But also, what you would want to do is record that license so that a new owner would get notice through that process that there is a license that exists on the property. The problem generally comes if people don't check those things before they purchase a property. They purchase it and discover it, and it's like, I didn't agree with that, so they find out about it and oftentimes at an inopportune moment, and they have a very negative reaction to it. The knee-jerk reaction is simply to say, forget it, I'm not doing that.
I don't want people on my
I don't want
property.
people on my property. I bought this for privacy and seclusion, so I don't want people on my property. So, but again, like I said, I don't discount the use of the license. It's just
It's less, yeah.
the difficulties that I've identified are going to be there, whether it's whoever owns the property, and the person, licenses are generally even revocable by the person that owns it. So, in fact, I think the licenses that were used in that instance were revocable on 30 days' notice by either party.
So the landowner could say, hey, in 30 days, I don't want this trail here anymore.
Exactly. What you might want to do is pursue the licenses, and then perhaps as well pursue a grant that could make those permanent with easements and that sort of thing. And there's lots of money out there for trail improvements, easement acquisition and that sort of thing.
So that would mean the village would buy land from the owner?
Generally, it's not
Or
a
the-
purchase of the land, but it's typically easements do require some degree of compensation to purchase the easement, and the easement is simply a right to use someone else's land on specified conditions.
the driveway or something like that.
Often be a driveway, or just access across my property to get to, or your property to get to mine, that kind of thing. And they are the biggest difference between a license and an easement is an easement runs to the benefit of the property runs to the benefit of one property, permanently burdens another. That's the difference between an easement and a license. They're not revocable once they're granted. They're permanent.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a quasi ownership.
Mhm.
It's ownership of a right to use the property. It's not ownership of the underlying property, but it's ownership of the right. And typically they'll say things like, you agree that you're not going to block it, you're not going to construct, you won't use it to construct your drain field, you won't place a structure blocking it or something like that. That's typically what easements say.
So back to the beginning of this conversation, why are we talking about this now? Because we've got a couple new owners and.
Yeah, and it was brought up a few months ago, and we've got a new committee member and a new village manager, so I thought it would be good to just, these are, sort of the Parks and Trail Committee items we've been really had there talked
But
about.
there's no urgency on this.
I think, it's to the landowner to the north of Fred Buds, to Mike and Christine, if their trail agreement isn't in place, you do have people that are walking that right now. So if something were to happen, if someone were to be injured, I don't know what the liability is. Or maybe there's a trail law that someone can't be sued if you're.
Yeah, there's a statute in Michigan called the Recreational Land Use Act that applies to tracts of land that are amenable to recreation, and it requires proof that the owner was grossly negligent in causing the injury, which is a very, very difficult standard to meet. It's not just, generally landowners are responsible to someone, even trespassers are responsible to not have defects on the property that cause injury. The responsibility increases as you have the trespasser is, somebody that's not even permitted to be there. A licensee would be somebody that comes in there for that has permission to be there, but otherwise gets injured. And then an invitee is somebody that actually, you come to my business, I'm paying you money to be there, and I'm injured as a result. Those are the three levels of potential liability, and the recreational land use says, even if you're an invitee, there's no duty owed to you other than to not be grossly negligent. And the typical case would be something like, where your property is known, it's a large tract of land, it's known to be used for dirt bike, okay? Even though you're not permitting it, even though you've got no trespass signs out, that people use it for a dirt bike. And then you go and literally excavate one side of a hill, and the person comes up and flies out into thin air. And they did it the day before, and it was fine. But now the other side of the hill is no longer there, and they're injured or killed as a result. That could be considered to be grossly negligent. Because the definition of gross negligence is you act in a way that it makes it substantially certain that an injury is going to occur. If you take off one side of a hill, that's substantially certain that somebody's going to get hurt. And that's the level of culpability you have to have when you're talking about the recreational use of undeveloped land in particular. It can even apply to developed land in certain circumstances if it's commonly used as a trail like that. So liability is minimal, but the owner's lawyer is going to say, even though the liability is low, it's never less than zero. So keep those people off your property. That's what they're going to tell. That's what they're going to tell the owners. So what you might want to do is in the short term, do some signage to reroute it down the road or something like that. And then work on get the licenses, but work on a future easement that will firm that up. Talking about potentially a long-term view of the trail.
So getting the licenses would involve, as Barb said, just calling these people and saying, we understand you're new owners, and you should know that a trail's run through there, and we just generally ask property owners to sign a document. Is that what it's about? Is that something you can do?
Yeah, sure.
Does that sound good?
Yeah. And some of those landowners may not intend to do anything with their property right away.
Right.
With building costs, so that the trail may not have to be rerouted in the immediate future. If, like I said, if they have no intention of using the property to construct anything at this time.
Right.
However, when they do, it may impede on their building envelope where they're looking for.
Yeah, I guess I wouldn't spend any time at this point trying to get licenses for properties where all is well. But I do think it's fair to these new owners to.
Yeah, like Fred Buds, if his license is still good, let it roll. And, but if there's been a change, should definitely have it updated so we're good on that. Anything else on that topic? Okay. The next item I had was a kayak launch. This just came up at I think it was the last council meeting, wasn't it?
Mhm.
And so that would be at Hazarat Park.
Yes,
Yeah,
well,
was that
that's the current proposal is,
And that came from Phil Halstead.
yes, it was his contact with me to try to pursue that sort of thing. I have a brochure that shows kind of what we're talking about. The type of dock that would be installed is a floating dock that has, poles on either side that allow the dock to go up and down as the water level increases. You can also, it's very amenable to, ADA access for persons with disabilities. This company even has even does the walking, or what do you call it, the mats that you roll out across the sand or uneven ground.
Oh, right.
The-
To permit,
Yeah, Moby mats.
Yeah, Moby
yeah,
mats.
exactly, Moby mats, and to permit a, handicap use of, or even, not necessarily even a wheelchair, but somebody that has limited mobility or uses a walker or something like that, to access those areas. In addition to Phil Halstead's proposal, I've been approached by representatives of the Beach Association that have a lot of concerns about how the parks are used, and in particular, mobility, access to the beaches, the bathrooms, that sort of thing. So this may end up being something that we could do in stages. The way the kayak launch works, let me back up for a second. The way the kayak launch works is it's essentially, you place the kayak on a roller area. You're able to get in the kayak on essentially a dry dock, and then you use your pole to there's notches along the launch that you use the pole. You put it in the notch in front of you, pull yourself forward, put it in the next notch, pull yourself forward, and eventually you float quite nicely and easily into the water. The launch itself can also be ADA compliant. So someone with a handicap can get into a kayak and actually, use the launch if they have upper body strength to use the launch to get out into the water. The total cost of the dock is about just under $50,000. The launch would be about $12,000. Probably have another, $6,000 to $8,000 in mobility mats and things like that. We've got just a very, very, very sketchy proposal. Well, not sketchy is not the good word, but a preliminary proposal that could be adapted for, frankly, a kind of a redo of Hazarat Park, particularly after all the erosion issues that we're dealing with right now are included. So this may not be something that we end up doing this season, or perhaps we would, get the dock this season and install the kayak launch next season, something like that. But Phil was really hopeful to get it on, at least get it on the village radar. The people that sell these docks will tell you, and anecdotally, I would agree that when you install one, you end up getting people come here purposely so they can use it. It's a good, it's even an economic development to bring people to the town because they want to use that kayak launch because it's just so convenient.
And then that's not a permanent dock, it's removed in the.
It's removed in
In the
the,
season, off
yeah, it's
season.
removed,
Okay.
it's
Oh,
removed
really?
seasonally, and it's apparently, depending on, they're talking about maybe just one 40-foot unit with a kayak launch at the end. And what I understand is you just hook it up to a, tractor or a, device that moves equipment like that, and just pull it out onto the shore from the water. It's a relatively easy thing to do. The installation, obviously, you've got to, they set the poles in, I understand, relatively permanent locations. Those are removed and reinstalled on an annual basis as well.
The poles are too?
The pole as
Okay.
well.
I've used one of these somewhere, I can't remember where, it was fabulous.
Yeah.
Well, we've got all those kayaks and canoes down
Well,
there.
that's the
I
other
mean,
thing.
it's, you know.
I think you may end up also wanting to increase the number of kayak storage. You can also adapt it. It's possible to adapt it for a racing skull and use it for that as well.
So the area is used as a beach as well, so will not interfere with that?
Right. In fact, it can help define the safe swimming area by having a safe swimming area to the south of that launch.
Is that what the thinking would be? The launch would be to the north side of that beach,
Yes, to the
where the
north
racks
side.
are.
Almost, yes, where the racks are and almost to the extreme end of that.
Yeah, because there's like a big shrub coming out of the water there, and then the Dwayne's property starts, I think, just on the other side of that fence.
Yes, and pretty much thinking at or near the northernmost edge of the park. So you could launch it in either direction and not interfere with the swimming area as would be fine. And as long as you're not dealing with a motorized vehicle, they won't cause problems with the swimming area.
Hopefully the jet skis will stay away.
Yeah.
It's not, they actually they have a dock where you actually can ride your jet ski right up onto but
Let's not get that.
the kayak launch will not accept that. That's not useful.
Seems like there'd be a lot of grant money for something like this.
There is, and we've already approached the foundation, and they're this, as they put it, is right in their wheelhouse.
Oh. Great.
But it would require some degree of local matching, so.
I wonder how the state of Michigan, they've got some of those DNR grants and stuff like that, we've looked into some of them before. Again, this goes back to who's gonna write it. For like, as you said, easement or park, land acquisitions, there's stuff for water, based things, so it's just a matter of identifying the correct one, and then
I know that,
MDNR, I think is, or how are they?
it's the DNR trust fund.
Yeah.
That funds those sort of things, and I can't remember, someone was telling me a local municipality, it may have been Elk Rapids.
Yes, yeah.
Installed one, and they have had a significant, it was this company that did it, they've had a significant increase in the use of kayaks at that particular location, and again, it has brought a lot of people to town.
Yeah, they got one of only 2 Sparks grants that were administered in northern Michigan. Most of them were downstate.
Right.
But there was one in the Sioux and one in Elk Rapids, and that grant was for $1 million. And we play golf over there at the 9-hole club, so we drive over there probably once a month, and it's busy, very busy.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful town.
Yeah, it is.
That library. Wow, have you ever been to the library?
No,
Oh, yeah, it's a great place.
drive by it on the way to the golf course.
They were also looking for a village manager.
They were.
Yeah.
At the same time, Northport was.
We're much closer to the big water here.
I just prefer.
Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we've got the kayak launch on our radar. And
Yeah, I think that's, at this point, that's where we're at. It's an idea that's blooming at the moment,
Mhm,
but not at a point where we can fund it.
sure.
Do we know, are there any other towns in the county that have one of those?
Not that I'm
Well,
aware
they
of.
wouldn't be on that, they wouldn't be on the lake side, they'd all be on the bay side, I would guess.
Yeah,
You could use it. You could use that.
You
I've been kayaking up in Sturgeon Bay.
Ooh.
And you know, as long as you're a little bit protected,
Mhm.
it's possible.
Hmm.
It's possible. My wife's not a particularly adventurous person as far as those things go, and she was out there as well, right in the bay.
Mhm.
So you can, you know, I could see it. It'd be a very good thing for you know, the end of Lake Street in Glen Arbor. Do something like that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they have a boat launch there now, but it's the area of access is very, very narrow.
Yeah.
It's just the 60 feet from what I'm assuming it's a 60 feet a road right of way with private property on either side, but it could be something that people could do there. Particularly if there's but you know, in the brochure, you see a lot of applications of it. They've got lots of pictures of how people, you know, use these kind of dock systems, not just the kayak launch, but you know, if you want to take a look at these, rather than just pass them around, that kind of shows what it looks like with the kayak launch. It's the dock with the kayak launch in it.
Mhm. That's
And
cool.
again, it could be configured for allowing handicap access into the lake.
Sure.
Oh, so this is a Michigan company from Gateway.
Yes, yeah. And the gentleman that is involved with the company, he was out at Azra Park looking around with us a couple of weeks ago.
Neat. Well, anything that can differentiate us from other communities, and like you said, I mean, yeah, who would have known that bike trails would have been such a big thing, you know, 40 years ago, and look at what that's done to, you know, I mean, who was the same, when I worked at Tapper, somebody's like, you know, who you really like to have is bike riders and motorcyclists. And I'm like, why? Like, because they can only carry their wallet. You know, but they're looking for places to stop and things to do. Yeah. But I mean, you know, bringing people, you know, from outside the community, I think that's, you know, the impact, like the golf course and other things we have that separate us from other, you know,
Yeah, I think this kind of thing would fit right into that. Like I said, when I came here, the thing that really truly attracted me to Northport was the marina and the dual parks on each side of the marina. That the way that it looked, it's such a beautiful setup. It enticed you to be at the water rather than, you know, say, well, that's kind of a dangerous place.
Mm-hmm.
No, this entices you to be at or near the water. You're gonna have lots of people, I think, using that facility if we were to install it. Just need to find some money to do it.
Have you seen the Bridge MI lately? The placemaking is a big deal to attract people in general just to live here, like it attracted you.
Absolutely.
You gotta have trails, you gotta have, we got a coffee shop.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know,
We got donuts, we
marina
got great
is
baked
huge.
goods,
Is that
and we got a brewery. Somewhere
that's
I
an
read that
organization? Bridge MI?
a town is not
yeah, it's
thriving
out of
unless it
the
has a
Center for
brewery.
Michigan,
Oh.
and they do, it's a bunch of reporters that used to work for the Free Press and the Detroit News, and now they're a virtual news
Okay.
magazine.
Yeah, Bridge, Michigan.
Oh, Bridge, yeah. Mhm. Yeah, it's Bridge is an excellent publication. Excellent.
And it's free unless you really
Yeah.
want to donate, which is encouraged.
MEDC has been pushing the idea of placemaking for a long time.
Oh my God, look at it, goes through. It
Oh,
goes
yeah.
through,
Oh, when we
wetlands.
were down in
It's
the
adaptable for that.
yeah, in the spring when we were down near Savannah, and going down to Tybee Island, the docks coming off people's property into those marshes and stuff, it was like, holy smokes. Everybody had one. It was like a swimming pool in Florida. Everybody had a dock that went out into the,
And
to
those
the,
are
to the
permanent
marsh.
docks.
Yeah. The big, and they all had like just little,
Yeah.
like, you know, structures on the end of them, and that's pretty cool.
This is a business that can exist in Northport.
Mhm.
What's that?
This is a business that can exist in Northport.
That would construct and sell those docks, absolutely. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
I hope you bought the guy lunch.
It was earlier in the morning, I wasn't here that long, but.
You
we'll,
gotta croissant.
Yeah. Okay,
Excellent.
yeah. Any other discussion on that?
No.
Sort of touched all the,
I think we're fine.
okay. So any other items for discussion? Nobody replied, so. Brings us to our second public comment, if anyone in public would like to do so. Okay, hearing no takers. Any council or committee comment?
Nope. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, we'll stand adjourned at 11:19.
Are we meeting next month?
Maybe.